Welcome back to the Body Breakdown. We got Dave and Tyler here. Happy New Year to everyone. And today we're going to be talking about what the secret to weight loss is. I know that's on everybody's mind right now is weight loss on the new year. We're going to talk about that and why we shouldn't change our business model from weight loss to pain. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So first off, one thing we noticed and we did, it's kind of saw a program that was floating around called the 75 Hard. And me and Tyler and actually Misty all did it and we completed it. We just got done just a few weeks back and the results were awesome, actually. So Tyler, how was your results?
Well, I ended up, my goal was to try to increase muscle mass. So I ended up gaining 6 pounds and then obviously, muscle definition, stuff along those lines. Better cardiovascular, better in shape, better endurance, stuff along those lines. Things that I really noticed was, beforehand, wasn't exercising nearly as much, and doing even little tasks, playing with the kids at the park, stuff along those lines. I'll get out of breath really quickly. Now I can do practically anything, be able to beat them all. And my kids are 6 and 3, so they're very active. And if you have a 6 and 3-year-old, they're hard to keep up with. So that's kind of, being able to play with them more, stuff along those lines was, my big progress, and then being able to eat better and stuff like that, energy-wise.
Yeah, and for me, the results I saw was I actually could tell I was not in the shape I wanted to be that I wanted to be. I lost 17 pounds in the 75 days, and even just, like he said, the endurance that I had before and everything was bad, and I felt great afterwards. So I'm really liking it. So kind of what we want to talk about today is what is those details of what that program was, first off. So really the number one thing was over 75 days, you had to stick to it. And if you missed any component of it, you had to start over. So there was 5 components to the program. That was key. And that was it. You had 5 things. What were 5 things?
So we had to, you had to do 2 workouts a day. They both had to be 45 minutes, and one had to be outside, and they had to be, apart. You couldn't do them back to back. So you had to really, manage your time. The other one was you had to drink a gallon of water a day. You had to read 10 pages of a personal development book. You had to take a personal selfie of a progress picture, and then you had to follow some sort of diet for the entire 75 days. And the big key is you couldn't cheat. There was no cheating. If you cheated, you had to go back to day 1. Yep. So that was kind of our part was I didn't want to restart.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point of this. The thing was consistency. That is the answer to weight loss. It's consistency. No matter what of those, if you cheated and didn't make it, you got to start over. So it eliminated the possibility of cheating because from what we've been in the fitness industry for years, and we've had our business model was weight loss for the longest time. And what we saw whenever we would do it is people would do great when they would do the stuff, they would do bad when they were inconsistent with the stuff or they cheated. That's literally all it was. So, and even on all of it, it did it in this program. It doesn't matter what your diet was, doesn't matter what your exercises were, it doesn't matter. Pretty much those are the main ones. It didn't matter anything. It's the consistency. I've seen people do this, and they've done different exercise. Sometimes we would do everything different exercises, so it was never the same exercises. So the exercise meant nothing. It was the consistency of doing them. And on the back end of the nutrition, his nutrition plan was different than my nutrition plan, but it was about sticking to it. Yeah. And that was the number one thing. So if you're looking for weight loss right now, think about consistency. Because even the other component of it all was, it's 75 days. Most people were like, oh, I'm gonna start eating right for a couple weeks. I did not really see any results for the first 30 days. It was very minimal results. And then the next third of the program, I saw some results, but it was all in that last part of the program, of that last maybe 25 days of the program where you see all the results. So this is where no one can see weight loss results consistently because they're not sticking to anything long enough. So that was the number one thing from the whole thing that I got out of it, and that's what we saw in weight loss every single time. People wouldn't stick to it long enough, or they wouldn't stick to it good enough.
And the other part of weight loss, it's not about any time that we would coach you and you would be here working with us. It'd be all of it happens whenever you're not here.
Yep.
So if you don't have the discipline or the consistency to stick to it, weight loss doesn't happen, and then you're frustrated at the person that's trying to help you that they're not doing their job, when in reality you're not the one doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So that's always everybody always knows what to do. It's whether you do it or not.
Yep.
That's the whole part of 75 Hard. That is, it's it's a free program. Like that is,
Yep.
if you're looking for a New Year's resolution to lose weight, that is your program. You don't need to be paying for, nutrition plans and diet plans and workout programs. What you need to focus on is you need to become more disciplined at doing the right things consistently. That's what 75 Hard's about. And that's why we changed our business model really is because we knew that that's kind of a thing that, people are going to have to, start taking care of more on themselves, and we don't have control of that.
Yeah.
So
you come see us for a couple of hours in a day isn't going to fix the problem if you're going home for the rest of the 167 hours of the day.
yeah. And a comment people would always make is, oh, I wish you would just follow me around every day and just slap the things out of my hand that I don't need to be doing. So I was like, well, that defeats the purpose of personal discipline. That's the whole point of what really weight loss is. It's about you being able to control yourself and saying no to the things and yes to the no to the wrong things, yes to the right things.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect part to talk about what your real goal with it was.
So my real goal was, more gaining endurance, gaining more mental discipline, where a lot of times you procrastinate on things. Those things build up until it turns into just a cluster of things that explode in your face. That was more my goal, is to regain that just mental toughness of discipline, so I can make sure that I stay on top of my task whenever we're running our business here. You can't really procrastinate on things. You got to do things immediately, or you get you're really far behind really quickly. So that's kind of was more my goal throughout it, is to become more mentally disciplined and stay ahead of things.
Yeah, and that's that little voice in the back of your head always telling you, you don't need to do this now. Like, that was the voice. Like, that's what this program helped, is eliminate that, where you get the stuff done and eliminate all the excuses of, this one little piece of candy ain't gonna make the difference, or this one drink isn't gonna make the difference. Like, it does make a difference in the long scheme of things, you letting yourself out of these things. So that's why we shifted now to actually pain and making sure you can move and without pain, exercise without pain. That's what we've really moved to, is helping you achieve pain-free movement.
Yeah, and that's where we found there we were as we were, we would get people through weight loss. It would only help for a few amount of people, because if you weren't really committed and you really weren't really dedicated to it, throwing money on a problem really doesn't help. So that's why we really switched to what we kept on seeing was people would start exercising. They would start to do things like squats and push-ups and the things that we learned initially in school. And what ended up consistently happening is people would become, start hurting in certain areas, get injured. They would go to either the doctor, they would go to physical therapy, and then they would come back. They were feeling okay. We would start them back at the same activity level again that they were before, and the problems would continually reoccur. So we saw there was a huge gap, and people weren't really technically progressing properly, and that's kind of where we started to switch on. We need to make sure that whenever we're exercising, you're doing the right amount of exercise for you right now, because a lot of times whenever you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to do it fast, you're trying to do it quick. I want to try to get as much done as fast as possible. Where that becomes volatile is you can get injured, because your body doesn't work like that. Your body has to be in a progressive state. If not, you're doing something that's too hard for you. You're going to injure a joint. You can possibly tear a muscle. You can injure your tendons, ligaments, stuff along those lines. So that's where we really saw that adjustment, that we need to be the professionals here, and we need to make sure that we're guiding people to do proper exercise the right way without getting injured was kind of our goal.
Yeah, and that's what we see a lot of people is they're wanting to lose weight, and their first thought is, I need to exercise. Yes, that's true, and that's part of the process. But that's what we see is they would end injured, and then they would give up on the process of losing weight. So that's where we've established people to help to stay moving. That's the key, is you cannot get injured and not start moving, or not keep moving. We want to make sure you're able to do all the things you want to do, from components of the things you like to do. Maybe it's even like we have clients in here, clients that get to like to play with their grandkids. Like, that's a thing, so they can move and do that. Or former athletes that can go out and actually go play sports with their kids, and all that. Like, we want to help you be able to do that, instead of sitting on the sidelines and thinking, man, that'd be fun if I could do that, but my shoulder hurts or my back hurts and I can't do that. So that's the type of people we really help, is allow you to be active and with whatever activities you want to be doing again.
Yeah, and I think it's also the difference is what we do is, to your typical personal training that you would think of, is their goal is to technically, practically kill you. And that's kind of what everybody's perception of personal training is they're there to try to make that workout as hard as possible, and that's a lot of times whenever we would go to like family events, they're like, oh well, you get paid for counting people's repetitions, making sure they do stuff, and really I'm like, was really kind of taken back, because I'm like, that's not really what we do at all. Like, we really focus, make sure that they're doing it the right way, they're making sure they're using the right muscle groups, and then the other things too is like, now as we've progressed, we've taken a lot of time putting into anatomy knowledge, making sure that we know where the muscles are, how they work, how to stretch them, how to exercise them, and then the vast, being able to have a diverse amount of people that we work with different problems, and being able to figure out how the muscles work and be able to manipulate that in order to get somebody from in pain every day, from everything that they're doing, is hurting, bothering them, they're not able to play with their grandkids, they're not able to play their normal activities, and then that progression where they can get back to being able to do those things without pain again. That's life-changing to people, is really valuable.
Yeah.
And people aren't getting the answers, so that's where we saw the value is, the things that people are currently doing aren't getting them the results. They're going to physical therapy. They're not getting really where they want to be. They're going to chiropractic care. They're going to their doctor. They're getting injections, having surgery, still having issues. That's where we help a lot of people, out of surgeries, not getting surgeries, not getting injections, getting out of pain.
Yeah, and that's where we come in, and we're looking at it from a different spot. We're looking at the muscles and why the muscles aren't working correctly, and that's where we look at is we have 3 steps that we're looking at. Is the first step is the muscle moving correctly. So sometimes we got to go in and with massage at first and break down that muscle tissue, because the muscle's not moving, and then that's what we're doing. If you're trying to move a muscle and the muscle tissue is not moving, you're going to have a problem. The muscle should move, and it's going to put tension on those joints that you're feeling. Like, it's your back. A muscle's not moving. That's why you're feeling the pressure in your lower back. It's because muscles aren't moving. So what we do is first is make sure that muscle's moving and it has the ability to move. And then after that, if once we get that broken out, then we now elongate the muscle. So the muscle's not used to stretching. We got to teach it how to stretch. So that's where now stretching comes in. We elongate that muscle and make sure it has the ability to move in and out like it should. And then there's a weakness. It's either keeps getting tight because that muscle's too weak, or the opposing side is too weak, and we're looking at how do we correct the balance of the muscle so that muscle's strong enough to support the workload you're doing every day, where it doesn't automatically lock up. So we're looking at all 3 stages of those all the time. Do we need to massage more? Do we need to stretch more? Is there an exercise that we need to be doing to counterbalance all that? And that's kind of our process that we're looking on every day, and we take that throughout the whole entire body. It can be in your feet, it can be in your back, it can be in your neck, it can be in your hands. We're literally looking at everything. Everything that's moving, a bone is moving, that means a muscle's moving. We can do something towards that. So that's kind of what we're looking at on a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we really changed our name from, TNT Fitness to TNT Myo-Mechanics, is because myo is like the short term for muscle, mechanics, somebody fixes something. So what we do is we fix your muscles.
Yep.
So, and that's the different approach that's really not being taken out there. A lot of things are, you get an MRI, x-rays, they're trying to look at skeletal damage. What we look at is people come in, they're like, I've got MRIs, I got x-rays, my doctor says there's nothing wrong with me, I still have pain, I'm still hurting, and I have no idea what's going on. So and that's where we come in. We're like, that's actually perfect that you said that, because that checks off all of the boxes of the things that are going to tell us that something structurally is wrong, and that just, it just checks off our boxes, so we now know it has to be the muscle. The only thing that can be left is your muscle is dysfunctioning, and it's either not shortening correctly or it's not elongating correctly. And really what we do as Myo-Mechanics is identify what muscle it is, what movements it's not moving through, and then make sure to get the right massaging, stretching, or exercise techniques to be able to get it moving correctly again. And that's really what we do in a nutshell. And so wherever you have a muscle on your body, we can work on it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's kind of the key that we really are good at, is finding the right amount of stress for you right now. We have some people that come in and the amount of stress is like that much. We're barely pushing. We have other people that we can really dig into depending on where they are in the process. Like, that's where we're, that's the beginning stages of barely touching, but we got to get to where those muscles can get dug in or stretching. So sometimes we're stretching and it can only have a little bit of stretch whenever it should be able to move well. So it's finding that where you are in that level of how much stress your body can handle. And that's the same thing like in an exercise. So some people can do more stress, more exercise. Some people have to do less. And that's kind of, we always compare it to people that understand exercise. Massaging and stretching falls exactly the same concept of we're trying to just like in an exercise, you're fatiguing that muscle to break it down so that it can grow and become better. Same thing. In massage, we're breaking down that muscle tissue so that it can heal and grow and get better. And that's kind of the same concepts we're doing every single day with our clients too.
Yeah. And then the type of clients we work with or anywhere, we have our oldest clients are up in their 80s, and we have, young clients, that are 12, 13, 14. And it's, anybody at any time, at any point in their life could have some sort of injury, overuse, or anything, or underuse. So those are all of the things that we work with. So there is no problem that is really, different or too big or anything like that. As long as it's a muscular issue, those are the things that we work with. Everybody, has muscles. So, if you're having a problem, this is a good option for you to look at first before you go anywhere else, to make sure that your muscles could be the major things that's dysfunctioning. And a lot of times, anytime that there's an overuse injury, it's because your muscles are what's causing the problem, and that's causing the skeletal issue.
A lot of times, even if it's an issue that just kind of started creeping up, it's this pain started happening here and then nothing really happened, like there's a high chance that's a muscle problem. That muscle's causing the pain, or something, even like bulging discs and some of those, that it's something that's creeped up over time because the muscles have been pulling the vertebrae out, and now it's a problem long term. So those are the things that we work really, really well with, is things that are chronic issues that have been building for years, not something that just happened overnight. You were in a car accident immediately, like we're not gonna be able to help with that. But on the opposing side, if you go through physical therapy and you're still, and you've had issues a long time ago, and now you're healed, but you still have pain, though that means the muscles have never recovered yet, and we haven't completely fixed them. So that's the type of people we work really well with. Those type of people at the same time.
For sure, and that's why we offer 3 free sessions on the front end, is so you can kind of put us to the test. And to see if this is the right option or the right fit for you. As it becomes sometimes, we can't help people from the standpoint it is a structural issue. That is something that we can't help out with. But then we can refer you out to the people that you do need to see. But 9 out of 10 times, the muscles are the ones that's causing your consistent problem, as long as you haven't broken anything or stuff along those lines. So I always tell and encourage everybody, give it a try. Give us a call, see if this is the right fit for you. Misty will kind of walk you through exactly. She knows the things that we can and can't help with. So if you've received a specific diagnosis or anything along those lines, those are all things to ask us if we can help out with, because we do.
And then what will happen is we'll come in and one of us will sit with you and talk to you about your problem specifically. That's a big component of that's kind of our first initial vet process. Are we going to be able to help you? Or I guess it would be a second vet. Misty talking on the phone would be the first vetting process, if that's something that would be good. And then the second would be, we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss your pain in detail to make sure we really understand it before we start coming out on a table and we start working on it. So once we start doing that, we'll start feeling around and seeing what is your issues and where some tenderness is, where immobilities might be. That'll really tell us if these are a muscular problem or skeletal problem too. So.
And this is not a rush process. We're trying to really try to figure out the root cause of your pain. We're not just trying to come in 15 minutes, just try to give you a blanket this is probably what it is. We're really trying to dive in and make sure we rule out all possibilities that could be an issue, and to ensure that we're getting the actual right plan and program for you to make sure that we're starting you out the right place. Because this is always the big thing I always like to let people know. You can't not do anything because you're going to make zero progress. You can't add 0 plus 0 still equals 0. But the other aspect of it is if you go too hard, too fast, you can cause injury. We have to make sure we find the right stress for you. And the other component is too, it's like if you're working on the wrong area, you're not going to get progress at the same time. So that's why we like to really take the time to evaluate, to make sure that we're on the right problem for you, and then being able to make sure we create a progressive plan to be able to get us to move forward and to get you back to wherever your goal is. And everybody's goal is different. Some people's just to get out of pain. Some people's to be able to get back active so they can play with their grandkids, garden, do whatever. So it's up to you on what your kind of goal is. Our goal is just to try to help you get there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of in that process. We're trying to find, and even in that 3 days, we want to find out our process, or like what we feel is the problem. Allow you a couple days to see how your body recovers, then come back, work those again, or find any new problems. And then that's why we do 3 days, and it's spread out over about a week and a half is usually what we do. So we literally get the recovery time. So it isn't just here we're going to do this, and you're going to be able to see how it feels after we work on that, and how the next couple days are going to feel. And that's going to give us feedback to knowing if we're on the right areas. Do we need to change plan a little bit? Are we on it perfectly? specifically? Do we need to increase the intensity a little bit here? So then the next time you come in, it's going to tell us everything we need to know, and that gives us another day of working. So you get 3 days of us working on it and really get to see how the process is going to work and how the results are happening. And then you will see progress in those 3 days. And that's what we're doing. If we're not making progress in 3 days, we don't expect you to continue. Like, why would we're probably not the right fit for you if we're not making progress already in those 3 days. So that's kind of where we do our 3 days like that. It allows us to really make sure we're a good fit for you, you're a good fit for us, we're on the right action, and we're here to prove it to you. I know this is an area of a lot of people don't understand how the muscles work and how they could cause pain. We're here to prove that, how that's going to work.
Yep, for sure. So I encourage everybody to, if you are having pain, you are having problems, you do have a diagnosis of some sort, to maybe comment below, ask us a question, follow us on Facebook, follow us on all our social medias, go to our website at tntpain.com to see if this is the right fit for you, to see if we can help you.
Awesome. Yes, that'll end it for today for the Body Breakdown. We'll see you next week.